Well, hey everyone, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer from Voga Coffee. The Ground Control Brewer is revolutionizing drip coffee worldwide. It's not often that something comes along that is absolutely changing the game for how we understand what's possible with a batch brew coffee, but that's what Ground Control does with its SCA award-winning technology. It gives you precise control over an extremely broad range of flavor possibilities in your coffee. It's going to make you feel like you're getting to know your coffee all over again and just level up that experience for your customers. And not only does the Ground Control make amazing batch brew coffee, but it can also make tea, batched iced lattes, batch cold brew. You can use it to create cold brew for nitro. There's a lot of different applications this machine has. So you've got a machine here that's basically reinventing a category of coffee and also is very versatile. It's got a small footprint. It's easy to train your staff on. And with all that said, I think having a Ground Control brewer is a huge asset to your cafe. Go to their website over at groundcontrol.coffee and find out more information. See who's using it, see how it works. And again, if you are looking for quality, versatility, and a next level coffee experience, then I highly recommend going to check out the Ground Control brewer over at groundcontrol.coffee. This episode of Shift Break is also brought to you by La Marzocco, who's been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. Now, in 2018, they started a competition called Crush the Rush that focused on testing the speed and efficiency and consistency of the baristas on bar. And in that competition, they really highlighted some great products, such as their amazing KB90 espresso machine, which has the straight-in locking portafilters for improved speed and ergonomics. It has the auto flush feature for increased cleanliness and speed, and built-in scales that improve the consistency and flow of your operation. They also employed the puck press, which automatically tamps the coffee with consistent pressure to reduce the wear on a barista and to create a repeatable motion. So through this competition and through all the years that they've been serving the specialty coffee retail community by providing really dependable and intuitively designed equipment, it all goes to show how dedicated La Marzocco is to the success of our cafes. La Marzocco USA is available to help coffee entrepreneurs get the best equipment for their shops. Contact one of the sales directors by emailing info@lamarzocousa.com. You can also check out their website over at lamarzocousa.com. Well, everyone, we're going to talk today about your favorite barista. It is great to have a good barista working for you. That's obvious. We want good baristas. And as we've talked about, good baristas are actually made and not necessarily hired. But in this episode, I want to address the problem that comes up when you've got one person who is kind of stealing the show. Maybe for a couple of reasons. One is that person is just a lightning rod personality. They've got a bigger than life presence. They are just like the show. You know what I mean? And that can be a really big asset because a lot of times that person has a lot of friends. They bring their friends into the coffee bar to buy stuff. And also people love that person, right? The other reason why you might have favorite barista is because that barista actually makes the drinks better than anybody else, or that barista makes the drinks a different way and you like the way that they make them better or the exceptions that they make. I have an episode, a Shift Break called Toxic Traditions, which talks about how when we make exceptions to the rules in a vacuum, we just create a lot of confusion. This would be an example of that. But I've heard it said a lot that, somebody is my favorite barista because it's just the way they make it. It's just different. And I have been that barista. I've been the one where people say something with the way that you make coffee, it's just different or it tastes better or whatever. And that has been said to me when I was just a barista and I didn't have any authority to really do anything about it, which I think is the message here today. And that is what to do when you find yourself with a favorite or a star barista and you're thinking, I don't want the incongruities. I don't want one personality to be the brand. So let's address these one at a time. First of all, Let's start with the star barista thing, or the bigger than life personality of a barista. You cannot escape the fact that a lot of what happens in the coffee bar in terms of your hospitality experience is going to be driven by the personality of your baristas. That's just a given. You should not try to get rid of that. You shouldn't try to stamp down people's personalities unless they're just being rude or going against your policies and things like that. But you shouldn't try to regulate them into some kind of bland gray area of personality. That would be foolish. But what I do think that you can do if you're having worries about one person becoming the face of the business is actually learn from them and learn what it is that people resonate with that person. So the temptation might be to protect yourself against that. I think instead you should start saying, this is a blessing. Like, this person is showing us how to connect with our community. And obviously the community is responding. When are you going to get that opportunity again to be shown the kind of hospitality that your community really resonates with? You can codify that in some of your materials, in your training. You can make that person even responsible for helping develop some of that culture for the rest of the staff because you love what they do. So you're rewarding this person. And in the process, what you're doing is you're strengthening the base of your business so that even if that person leaves, now it's not like this big lurch is going to happen where all of a sudden the company itself now feels like it changes completely. There was a coffee bar I used to work for where there was a larger than life personality. And what we did as I was an operations manager was I always thought maybe what would happen when this person leaves? It would be a sad day. And it was, no matter what. But because that person was also given charge over hiring and also input into culture and developing kind of the identity of the business, the influence spread to others. And when he left, it was sad. And it's always sad when a good barista leaves. But other people embodied similar characteristics. And so they were able to sort of fill in the void, not perfectly, of course, never can be replaced. But the transition was made a lot better rather than just having one person who comes in as a favorite barista and you're kind of disgruntled about it. You're like, man, I just don't want it to be all about them. You're looking at it wrong, in my opinion. It really is a blessing, in my opinion, if you use it as an opportunity to grow. So that's the first kind of favorite, quote unquote, favorite barista example. The second one would be the favorite barista who is making drinks the way that the customer says is their favorite way of making it. You have to determine first if that barista is just making things their own way. Are they just making things that, they read in a book and they're just like, I'm just going to make this with a, extra syrup, or, it's like classic bartender overpouring to get more tips. You got to determine if that's the case. And that is going to be a corrective conversation. Listen to the episode Toxic Traditions. I'll link to it in the show notes. We'll talk more about it in that episode. But let's say that the favorite barista is just a barista who's really good at their job, and everybody else might be kind of new or might be not as good as that barista. Again, you have an opportunity here to invest into that person who's doing a good job and say, well, what are they doing that the rest of us aren't, that we can be doing, that we want to give to our customers? That person might be able to help you develop some training material. Of course, you always should be paying these people more for added responsibility. Caveat out there, never try to get away with just paying people the same amount for more work, okay? So that person, again, though, is showing you that customers resonate with a job well done. You're my favorite barista because the temperature is always correct, or the espresso just tastes different, or the latte art's really good, or the service is really good. These are all basics that everybody should be doing, but not everybody does consistently. And so if you have that favorite barista, again, extrapolate from that example, what is it that we can do to bring everybody else up to speed? Now, I wouldn't recommend necessarily putting that person in charge of training because, as we've said in other episodes, just because somebody is technically good at something doesn't mean they should be given a leadership position, but it is a sign given to you as a gift to look at the fact that everybody else might be doing different things, and you need to get some consistency across the board. And so having that perspective on the favorite barista as a sign and an opportunity for improvement, I think, is a good way to look at it. Usually it's a reflection on something that we're dropping the ball in operationally and in training. And when we use these opportunities well, we can bring up the quality and the experience for all of our staff and customers. So I hope that this episode was helpful for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today, and I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.